Willow sat in front of the camera, her expression calm, but her eyes telling a different story. She ran a hand through her hair, clearly collected, but there was a hint of something else lurking behind her steady gaze, an intensity that came from years of pain. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft, but carried a heavy weight. You know, I never imagined I'd end up here telling you all this. You never think it'll happen to you, that one day your own family will turn their back on you. But here I am, and that's exactly what happened to me. She paused, her fingers idly tapping against the edge of the table, as if searching for the right words. I was always the good daughter, the one who followed the rules, the one who did everything by the book. But none of that mattered the day they kicked me out. I don't think they even realized how deep that cut. They were so quick to throw me away, like I was nothing, all because I wasn't what they wanted me to be. Willow's voice faltered for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. I remember it so clearly. It was a cold day, gray skies, the kind of day that feels like everything is about to fall apart. And it did. I came home from school expecting to be greeted like any other day, but instead I walked into a storm. She shifted in her seat, her eyes narrowing as she continued, her voice growing more intense. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, looking at me like he didn't even recognize me. And my mom, she didn't say a word. She just stood there, her eyes cold, her arms crossed. And then it hit me. Something wasn't right. Something was off. It didn't take long for the words to come. We don't want you here anymore, Willow. You need to leave. Willow's expression hardened as she relived the moment. I stood there, frozen. I couldn't even process it. I had done nothing wrong. I had always been the one who took care of everything, who made sure the house was clean, who helped with whatever needed doing. But none of that mattered anymore. I was just out. Just like that. Her voice cracked slightly, but she quickly composed herself, looking directly at the camera. They told me it was time to go. And that was it. No second chances, no looking back, and I left. That was the first time I realized that family doesn't always mean unconditional love. She paused, a long silence hanging in the air, before she continued, her eyes cold but focused. But let me tell you something. That moment, as much as it broke me, also woke me up. Because when they kicked me out, I realized something crucial. I didn't need them. I had everything inside me to take back what was mine. And I was going to prove it. Her gaze hardened, and her voice became steely. So, I did what I had to do. I fought for what I knew was rightfully mine. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about showing them they were wrong. It was about taking back control of my life. I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. I was going to get what I deserved. Willow's smile was small, but determined. And trust me, what happened next? You're not going to believe it. Willow leaned back in her chair, her fingers curling into fists for a brief moment before she relaxed them. The fire inside her was still burning strong. The weight of her past had shaped her into someone who wasn't afraid to fight for herself anymore, and that became clear as she spoke again. Once they kicked me out, I knew I had to do something. But honestly, I had no idea where to start. I didn't have anywhere to go, no real savings, nothing. But here's the thing. When you've been pushed to the edge, you either stay down or you rise. And I wasn't going to stay down. Not after everything they did. They thought they could break me. They thought I'd crumble without them. But what they didn't know was that I was already planning my next move. They gave me a reason to fight back, and that's exactly what I was going to do. Her voice was steady, the determination in her words unmistakable. I spent the first few nights in my car just trying to get my bearings. I had nothing but a couple of bags, my phone, and a mind full of anger. And when you're angry enough, you don't need anything else. I used that anger to fuel myself. I started looking for a job anywhere that would take me, but it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about showing them that I could do it. I could thrive without them. So I did what I had to do to make sure I wouldn't have to go back to them. Not after what they did. She paused, her fingers nervously tapping the table, but her eyes never wavered. It took a while. The first few weeks were hard, grueling even. I ended up crashing at a friend's place for a while, just trying to get my footing. But slowly, things started to fall into place. I found a job at a local diner. Not glamorous, but it was enough to get me by. And as I worked those long shifts, scrubbing dishes and serving food, I kept telling myself, this isn't where I'm going to end. This is just a step to something bigger. She leaned forward, her tone growing more intense. But it wasn't just about getting by. I had a goal now, a burning desire to take back what was rightfully mine. And I wasn't just talking about material things. I was talking about my dignity, my self-worth. My parents thought I was nothing without them. They thought they could control me, break me. But what they didn't understand was that by pushing me out, they gave me the freedom to become something I could never have been with them. Willow's voice softened for a moment, a reflection of the loneliness she had felt during that time. There were days, though, when it felt like I was drowning, when the weight of everything hit me, the uncertainty, the loneliness, the fear of the unknown. I missed my old life. I missed the comfort of having a family, even if they weren't the kind of family I needed. But I had to remind myself every day, you can't go back. You can't let them control you anymore. And the moment I stopped looking back, that's when everything changed. She shook her head, as if clearing away the old doubts. I started making connections. I found a mentor, a woman who had been through similar struggles. She saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. She helped me build my confidence and taught me how to take risks. And that's when I really started to grow. I wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. I was building something that would finally prove I could do it on my own. Willow's eyes glinted with quiet pride. And then it happened. The opportunity I had been waiting for. I came across a small online business that was for sale, an e-commerce store. It was a gamble, but I could feel that it was the right move. I put together every last dollar I had saved from those long shifts and invested it. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. I worked day and night, learning the ins and outs of the business, building it from the ground up. Slowly, it started to grow. At first, just a few orders here and there, but then it started to snowball. Her tone shifted slightly, becoming more reflective, almost as if she was remembering the exact moment everything had turned around. There were nights when I wanted to quit, when the pressure felt too much to handle, but I never did. I couldn't. I knew this was my only shot at proving to myself and to everyone else that I was capable, and I wasn't going to let anything or anyone stop me. Willow's lips curled into a small, victorious smile. I'm proud to say that within 6 months, my business was booming. I had finally built something on my own, something that was mine and mine alone. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need them to tell me I was doing well. I had done it myself. And that, to me, was everything. Her voice hardened once more, a spark of fire returning to her gaze. And when I went to visit my parents, months later, after everything had changed, when I had the success I'd fought for in my hands, I could see the look on their faces. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to react. They were shocked. They never thought I could do it. And that, right there, was the payback. Not the success itself, but seeing the disbelief in their eyes. Willow paused, taking a deep breath. But I wasn't done yet. The real payback wasn't just in making something of myself. It was in showing them that I didn't need them to succeed, that I could rise above the betrayal, above the rejection, and be better than they ever thought possible. And trust me when I say, they never saw it coming. Willow sat back in her chair, her fingers drumming lightly on the edge of the table. The weight of the journey she had been on was clear in the quiet intensity of her gaze. She wasn't finished, not by a long shot. The thing is, Willow began, her voice steady and sharp, once I started to see success, once I started to really build something, I thought it would feel like a victory. I thought I'd feel proud. And don't get me wrong, I did feel proud of myself. But there was a part of me that still felt unsettled. There was still this anger inside me that I hadn't fully dealt with. It wasn't enough just to make something of myself. I had to prove to them that I was worth something, that I wasn't just the girl they tossed aside without a second thought. Her eyes narrowed, the determination rising in her voice. I guess part of me always thought that if I could prove myself, if I could show them I didn't need them, they'd regret what they did. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was more about showing myself that I didn't need them in the first place. But that's the thing about revenge, right? It's not just about the other person. It's about how it makes you feel. She leaned forward, her voice growing softer, yet more intense. But even with the success, there was still this emptiness. I didn't want to just shove my parents out of my life. I wanted them to see that I could do better. I wanted them to see that I could rise above everything they thought I couldn't. So I did something bold, something they never expected. Willow's lips curled into a small smile, the hint of mischief and power in her eyes. I decided it was time to confront them, but I wasn't going to walk in there with my head down, asking for their approval. Number I had learned that the only approval I needed was my own. But I knew they needed to see that too. They needed to see that I was doing fine without them, and that their rejection didn't break me. It made me stronger. She paused, the weight of the words settling in. I went to their house one evening, but I didn't tell them I was coming. I didn't want to give them a heads up. I wanted to walk in, like I had every right to be there, like I was equal to them, not their child, not the person they pushed away. I had earned that right. Willow's eyes grew darker as she spoke, the tension building again. When I walked into that house, it was like everything shifted. They weren't expecting me. My mom was sitting on the couch, and when she saw me, her face went pale. My dad, on the other hand, barely reacted. He wasn't surprised, but he sure as hell didn't know what to say. It wasn't a warm welcome. It wasn't a greeting. It was just silence. She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. They thought they'd broken me. They thought I'd come crawling back, begging for forgiveness, asking to come home. But I wasn't there to beg. I was there to show them just how much I had changed, how far I had come. Willow's voice became cold, calculating. I didn't even sit down at first. I stood in the doorway just watching them, watching how uncomfortable they were. And then, without saying a word, I pulled out my phone and opened my bank account. I turned the screen to them. This is what I've built, I said. This is what I've done without you. Her lips curved into a knowing smile. I could see their eyes widen. They had no idea. No idea how successful I had become. No idea how hard I had worked. They thought I was just some lost kid. But now, I was the one holding the power. I was the one who had done what they said I couldn't. Willow paused, the smile fading from her face as she continued. My mom tried to talk, tried to apologize. She said, "We didn't mean to hurt you, Willow. We just wanted what was best for you." But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I wasn't the little girl who needed her to tell me what was best for me. I was the woman who had taken control of her own life. Her voice hardened, the sting of betrayal still fresh, despite everything she had built. But I didn't just leave it at that. I wanted them to understand what they had done, how their rejection had shaped me. I said, "You didn't just kick me out of the house, you kicked me out of your lives. You told me I wasn't enough. But look at me now. I'm more than enough, and I don't need your approval." Willow's eyes softened for a moment, but the fire was still there, burning brighter than ever. They didn't say anything after that. They didn't apologize. They didn't ask for forgiveness. It was like they couldn't process it. The silence between us felt like a victory to me. It was proof that I didn't need them. It was proof that I could stand on my own. And that moment, as cold and awkward as it was my triumph. She exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in a long while. It wasn't about getting them to admit they were wrong. It was about me taking back what was rightfully mine. My self-respect, my power, my future. And that was something they couldn't take away from me. Willow's gaze was unwavering as she finished. It's not just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life. When they think they can break you, when they think they can strip you of everything, show them that you can rise above it. That's what I did, and that's what I'll always do. Willow sat back in her chair, her fingers curling into a fist again. But this time, there was no anger, only a sense of finality. She was past the breaking point, past the need to prove anything to anyone. This was about moving forward. It was about owning her journey. It wasn't easy, Willow started, her voice softer now, but still laced with a steady strength. After that visit, after showing them how far I'd come, something shifted in me. I had given them a glimpse of what I had built, but I hadn't just done that for them. I did it for me. I did it to prove that I could stand tall, that I didn't need to keep looking over my shoulder, wondering if I was good enough. I had already proven that. To myself. And I was done. She paused, the weight of her words settling in. But even with everything I had achieved, I still had to confront one thing. One question that had been hanging over me for so long. What now? I had come so far. I had built something incredible, but I couldn't just stop here. It wasn't about staying stuck in the past. It wasn't about waiting for validation from them anymore. I had to keep going. I had to keep moving forward. Willow's eyes became sharper, a renewed sense of purpose evident in her gaze. I realized that even though I didn't need their approval, I still needed to make sure my life meant something. I wasn't going to let everything I had worked for just slip away. I wasn't going to let my success be a fleeting moment, something that would fade with time. I wanted to create something lasting, something that would solidify my independence, something that would prove that I didn't just survive. I thrived. She looked down for a moment of reflection before her eyes met the camera again. I decided to expand my business. The e-commerce store I had bought was growing, yes, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't just content with a small business. I wanted something bigger. I wanted to build a brand, something that could stand on its own without anyone holding me back. And that's exactly what I did. I reinvested every penny I made back into the business. I hired a team, built a website, started running ads, creating content. It was an all-in move, and it wasn't easy. Willow's fingers twitched as she spoke, as if remembering the sleepless nights and the long days spent juggling every aspect of the business. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. Every email I sent, every order I fulfilled, every social media post. It was all a piece of me. And with each step, I got closer to something bigger. And that's when I started to see the results. The sales went up. The audience grew. The brand gained recognition. I was becoming more than just someone they used to know. I was becoming something bigger, something they couldn't ignore. A slight smile crept onto Willow's face as she continued, her pride evident. I started getting calls from suppliers, from distributors, from people who wanted to partner with me. My little store had turned into something substantial, something that had real weight in the industry. I had finally become the entrepreneur I had always dreamed of being, and I was doing it on my terms, without any help from my parents. Her voice became quieter but still unwavering. But even as the business grew, there was a part of me that knew that my true test wasn't in the business success itself. It wasn't in the money or the accolades. It was in how I chose to move forward. Because what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that this wasn't just about business. It was about my identity, my strength, my independence. Willow leaned forward, her gaze more focused now, as if the weight of her journey was finally coming full circle. And that's when I made the decision to cut the ties completely. Not just with them, but with the past. It wasn't just about proving to my parents I could do it. It was about letting go of all the emotional baggage I had carried for so long. I had spent years trying to meet their expectations, trying to be the daughter they wanted me to be. But now, I was creating a version of me that was built on my own terms. I had finally shed the weight of their expectations, and I wasn't going to carry it anymore. A long pause passed as Willow let the gravity of her words settle. I stopped looking back. I stopped thinking about what I had left behind, and instead I focused on what I had built, what I had achieved. It wasn't easy. It wasn't something that happened overnight. But I had reached a point where I knew I had everything I needed to keep moving forward. Her eyes softened, but there was still that fire behind them. You see, the real lesson here wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It wasn't even about showing them that I could do it on my own. It was about finding my own strength, my own worth, and realizing that I didn't need them to tell me who I was. I had always been enough. And when I figured that out, when I realized that I was enough just as I was, nothing could stop me. Willow let out a breath, the peace settling in. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt like you're not enough, or like the people around you are holding you back, remember this. You have the power to take back what's yours. You have the power to rise above, no matter how hard life gets. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not capable. You are capable of more than you think. Trust me, I've been there. She smiled, a genuine, contented smile, and finally leaned back in her chair as though her story had come full circle. And that's why I'm here, telling you my story. Because the journey doesn't stop. It never does. But as long as you're moving forward, you're on the right path. Always remember, your strength comes from within, and that's where the real power lies. Willow paused, allowing her words to sink in one last time before she finished. And that's the last time anyone will ever underestimate me. Willow sat silently for a moment, the weight of her journey resting on her shoulders. She took a deep breath, as if gathering her thoughts before diving deeper into the final chapter of her story. The fire in her eyes had not dimmed, but there was a sense of finality in her voice, as though she had reached the moment of peace she had been fighting for all this time. You know, she began, her voice quieter now, when you go through something like this, when your own family turns on you and you're left to pick up the pieces, there's a part of you that wonders if you'll ever truly be free of it. Will you ever be able to truly move on? Or will you always be haunted by the idea of what you lost? She shifted in her seat, her gaze turning inward for a moment, reflecting on the path that had brought her here. For a long time, I thought I would always carry that weight. The weight of being abandoned, the weight of not being good enough. I kept telling myself that no matter how much I accomplished, no matter how much I built, I'd always feel like something was missing, like something had been taken from me that I could never get back. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke again, the quiet reflection giving way to an undeniable confidence. But then, after all the pain, after all the setbacks and struggles, I realized something. It's not about what they took from me. It's about what I took back. I had spent so much time feeling like I needed their validation, their love, their approval. But when I finally stopped waiting for them to give it to me, I realized I didn't need it. I had everything I needed inside me. Willow looked directly into the camera, her expression resolute. You see, the thing about being kicked out, about being thrown away by the people who are supposed to love you, is that it makes you stronger. Not immediately, but eventually. You have two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it fuel you. And for me, it became the fuel I needed to light the fire inside me. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes intense as she spoke. I didn't just build a business. I didn't just build a life. I built my identity, my independence. I built the confidence to say, I don't need them. I am enough. And once I realized that, once I saw how much power I had to shape my own future, I understood that this wasn't just about me surviving. It was about me thriving. Willow's hands gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. But here's the thing about success. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the recognition. It's about freedom. Real freedom. The kind that comes from within. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. The kind that doesn't require you to rely on the people who've let you down. Her voice was calm, but there was a trace of bitterness as she continued. I could have gone back to them. I could have called my mom and dad and begged them to take me in. I could have swallowed my pride and asked for forgiveness. But I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to crawl back into a life where I was constantly being pushed aside. I wasn't going to let them decide who I was any longer. Willow let out a slow breath, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Instead, I chose to keep moving forward. I kept building. I kept proving to myself that I was capable of doing anything I set my mind to. And you know what? The more I focused on myself, the more I realized I didn't need their approval. I didn't need them at all. Her voice grew quieter, almost reflective as she spoke again. There were moments, of course, when I missed them. I missed the idea of what a family should be. I missed the love I thought they would give me. I missed the bond we should have had. But those feelings didn't control me anymore. They didn't define who I was, because I realized that the love I needed was the love I had to give myself. Willow's gaze softened, the intensity fading, replaced by a quiet, assured strength. And that was the real breakthrough. That was the moment I truly became free. Not when I proved them wrong, not when I built a successful business, but when I learned to love myself enough to walk away from the people who had only ever hurt me. She leaned back in her chair, the weight of her words sinking in. Now, when I look at where I am, at what I've built, I'm proud of every single step, every hardship, every rejection, because without it, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And for the first time in my life, I can honestly say that I'm happy. Not because I'm successful, but because I've found peace. Real peace. Willow's smile widened, but there was a hint of sadness behind it, like a scar that would always be there, but no longer defined her. I took back what's rightfully mine, but more than that, I took back my life. And that's something no one can ever take away from me. She paused, letting the silence settle in, as if to allow the weight of her journey to rest on her shoulders for one final moment. Then, with a final look into the camera, Willow added, "And if you're watching this and you feel like you're stuck, like you can't move forward, just remember this. You don't need anyone's approval to be great. You don't need anyone's permission to succeed. You are enough, just as you are. So take back what's yours, and don't look back." The room seemed to quiet after her words hung in the air, leaving only the sense of victory, of a battle fought and won, not just against her parents, but against the very idea that she wasn't enough. Willow had taken control, and no one would ever take that away from her again. Willow's eyes softened as she spoke again, a quiet yet determined tone in her voice. "It's funny how life works sometimes. You go through the worst moments and it feels like everything is falling apart. And yet, in the middle of that mess, you find something you never expected. Strength, resilience, a part of you that was always there, just waiting for the right moment to shine." She paused for a moment, her gaze distant, as if reflecting on the days and nights she spent fighting for a life she deserved. "I used to think that I was broken. I used to believe that because I had been rejected by my family, I wasn't worthy of anything. That the love I'd been denied was the one thing that defined me. But over time, I learned that wasn't true. No one gets to define your worth. Not your family, not anyone. You decide who you are." Her voice grew steadier, more resolute. "There were times when the loneliness crept in, when I'd wake up and feel that empty space next to me, and it would remind me of what I'd lost. The family dinners, the holidays, the little moments that I used to think would always be there. And I missed them, I won't lie. I missed the idea of family. I missed the love that I had always longed for. But what I realized," Willow continued, her tone stronger now, "was that I wasn't missing the love I needed from them. I was missing the love I needed to give myself. I was so busy looking for validation from the people who had rejected me that I didn't see that I was enough already. I didn't need anyone else to tell me that I was worthy." She sat up straighter, her posture becoming more confident with each word she spoke. "It was around that time that I decided to make some changes. not just in my career, but in my life. I realized that I had spent so many years trying to be someone I wasn't, someone they wanted me to be. And in doing that, I lost sight of who I truly was. So I took a step back. I redefined what success meant to me. It wasn't about building a bigger business or proving them wrong anymore. It was about finding peace with myself and realizing that the only person I needed to prove anything to was me. She took a deep breath, her fingers lightly tapping against the table as she thought about the days that had followed. That's when I decided to give back. I had built my business, but I knew I needed to do something more with it. It wasn't just about me anymore. I had the platform, I had the resources, and I was finally in a position to make a real difference. So I started working on projects that meant something to me. I began to focus on giving back to my community, on helping those who had been through similar struggles. Her eyes lit up as she spoke, the passion in her voice clear. I started mentoring young women who had been abandoned, just like I had been. Women who were trying to find their footing, trying to rebuild their lives after being kicked out of their homes, or after facing rejection from their own families. I knew what that felt like, and I wanted to help them understand that they weren't alone, that there was hope on the other side of that pain. Willow smiled softly, a sense of pride filling her. I didn't just want to build a business. I wanted to build a legacy of empowerment, of strength, and of showing people that no matter where they come from, no matter how many times they've been knocked down, they can rise. I wanted to prove to myself and to the world that we don't have to be defined by our past. We can take what we've been through and turn it into something beautiful. The warmth in her voice became even more apparent as she continued. And that's what I did. I kept building, kept pushing forward. I started speaking at events, sharing my story, and helping others understand that their pain could become their power. And the more I shared, the more I realized that my journey wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the people I could help. It was about using my experiences to lift others up. Her smile faded slightly, replaced by a quiet resolve. The road wasn't easy. It still isn't. There are days when the memories creep back in, when I think about the family I lost. But I don't let it define me anymore. I don't let it control me. I've made peace with what happened, and more than that, I've learned to be grateful for it. Because without that pain, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have the strength, the wisdom, or the drive that I have now. Willow's eyes were clear, the weight of her journey now lifting as she spoke the final words of her story. So, to anyone watching this who's feeling lost, who's been rejected, or who feels like they're not enough, listen to me. You are enough. You are worthy. Your past doesn't define you, and the people who let you down don't get to control your future. The power is within you, and when you realize that, nothing will ever be able to stop you. Take control, own your story, and never, ever stop fighting for what's yours. She paused, her smile returning, a quiet confidence in her eyes. That's the lesson I learned. My life is mine to create, and no one can ever take that away from me. Willow took a deep breath, sitting back as though the weight of her words had finally found their place. The journey was far from over, but she was ready for whatever came next, knowing that she had the strength to face it all. Willow sat still for a moment, the weight of everything she had been through and everything she had learned settling around her. She was no longer the girl who had been abandoned and broken. She was the woman who had rebuilt herself from the ground up, stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever before. She looked into the camera, a slight smile playing on her lips, but there was a depth to her gaze, a quiet understanding of the journey she had taken. You know, sometimes it takes losing everything to realize what you truly have, Willow began, her voice steady but with a hint of warmth. I spent so many years searching for validation, searching for approval from the people who should have been there for me. I thought I needed them to tell me I was good enough. But what I realized along the way is that you don't need anyone's approval to be worthy. You just need to believe in yourself. She paused, her gaze becoming reflective. The moment I stopped looking for validation from others, when I stopped thinking that I had to meet someone else's expectations, that's when everything changed, because that's when I started to live for myself. And that's when the real power started to show up. Her voice was now filled with conviction, each word carrying the weight of everything she had learned. I know that not everyone has the same opportunities, and not everyone has the same starting point. But that doesn't mean you're not capable of making something incredible out of your life. It doesn't matter where you come from or who's rejected you. What matters is how you choose to move forward. Willow's expression softened, the pride in her words clear. And I'm here to tell you, you can move forward, no matter what. No matter how many times you've been knocked down, you can get back up. You have the power to change your life. It's not easy. It won't always be a smooth ride. But the moment you decide that you're worthy of a better life, that's when you start seeing things shift. Her voice grew more passionate as she continued. The key is to stop waiting for someone else to give you permission. Stop waiting for the people who hurt you to apologize. Don't let anyone else's actions control your happiness. Take control of your own future. You have the power to rewrite your story. You have the strength to turn your pain into your power. She leaned forward, her eyes locking with the camera as if speaking directly to each person watching. I don't care where you're starting from. I don't care what your past looks like. You have the ability to change your future. It's in your hands. And the moment you realize that, the moment you believe that you're worth the life you've always dreamed of, that's when everything begins to shift. Willow's smile grew, a mixture of pride and peace settling over her face. So take that step. No one else is going to do it for you. You are the one who gets to decide your future. You're the one who gets to choose how you want to move forward. And when you make that choice, when you decide to stop letting your past control you, that's when the magic happens. She took a deep breath, the calmness in her voice settling into a final, resonant message. My story wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But it was mine, and I fought for it. I fought for myself. And you can do the same. No matter what anyone tells you, no matter how many people try to break you down, remember this: you are enough. You always have been. And now it's time to show the world exactly who you are. Willow's smile was full of peace and quiet strength. Thanks for watching my story. And if you found any part of this inspiring, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Like and share this video to spread the message. And remember to turn on your notifications so you never miss another story that might change your life. You won't believe what's coming next. Keep moving forward, keep believing in yourself, and keep making your story your own. As she finished speaking, Willow gave one last, knowing look into the camera, her final words hanging in the air with undeniable truth. You have the power to take back everything that's rightfully yours. And that's where it all begins.